People like to say our neighborhood is safe. We have the usual symbols: a small park, vending machines, kids riding bicycles with bright helmets, old ladies sweeping in front of their gates every morning. Nothing ever happens here. At least, that's what we told ourselves. Then came the winter when one house on our street decided, for reasons still unknown, to stay forever on December 30th. The family who lived there were the Miyashitas, at least, that's what I'll call them. Father, mother, a girl in elementary school, and a little boy in kindergarten. I saw them almost every day. The father, in his late 30s, left early with a briefcase and a travel mug of coffee. The mother walked the children to school, sometimes chatting with my wife about bento recipes or PTA troubles. They were not especially close friends of ours, but close enough for small kindnesses. We exchanged New Year cards. They gave us extra mandarins when their relatives sent too many. Their house was a simple 2-story building near the corner. Nothing strange about it. A bit cluttered in the yard, toys left out, a small basketball hoop the boy never quite managed to reach. If you had asked me back then to imagine a crime scene, I would have pictured some distant place. Not that house. Never that house. The year it happened, winter came early. By late December, the air was sharp and dry, the kind that cracks your hands and makes every sound carry further at night. I remember because I was on the night shift at my company on December 29th. When I came home around midnight, the neighborhood was quiet. Only one upstairs window on Miyashita's house still glowed white-blue, the color of a computer monitor. I thought nothing of it. People stay up late during the end of the year. Bonenkai, late TV shows, last-minute work. The next morning, December 30th, my wife and I did what everyone else did: quick cleaning, shopping, preparing for the New Year's visit to her parents. I saw the father once that day, carrying a bag of trash to the collection point. We bowed to each other, too busy for real conversation. That was the last time I saw him alive. New Year's in Japan has a particular rhythm. On the 31st, trains fill with people going back home. Shops close early. Families gather in living rooms, watching music shows and comedy on TV, waiting for the bells at midnight. We were planning to leave town on the afternoon of the 31st and come back on January 2nd. On the morning of December 31st, I took out the last bag of trash before the holiday. I noticed something small but strange. The Miyashita's curtains were still open. Their living room light, which I could see from the street, was on. I glanced at my watch. 6:30 a.m. Maybe they forgot to turn it off, I thought. They're probably leaving early. I told myself a lot of probably that day. We left around noon, locking our door, checking the gas, patting our pockets for keys and tickets. As we walked to the station, I glanced at their house one last time. Curtains still half open. Lights still on. I assumed they had already gone. Nothing felt wrong until January 2nd. We came back in the late afternoon, tired from family visits and too much food. The neighborhood looked the same, covered in that pale, washed-out winter light. But as we dragged our suitcase along the familiar street, my wife slowed down. "Look," she said. The Miyashita house was exactly as we had left it. Same curtains. Same living room light. Boxes of New Year decorations that had been sitting near the entrance on the 31st were still there. No car in the small parking space. No footprints in the thin film of dust on the front step. Maybe they stayed at their relative's house this year, my wife said. Maybe, I echoed. But I couldn't stop staring at the light. Our own house had been dark for days and felt like a refrigerator when we opened the door. Their house had been shining like a lantern the whole time. Who was it shining for? On January 3rd, the first sign that something was truly wrong came on our phones. My wife gasped in the kitchen and called for me. "Look at this," she said, showing me her screen. It was a message in the neighborhood chat group. From one of the relatives of the Miyashitas. It said, "Has anyone seen or heard from Miyashita family pseudonym since December 30th? We can't reach them by phone. We went to the house but no one answered the door." The lights are on inside. We are worried. There was a string of replies. Maybe they're still visiting family? I saw the father on the 30th morning. I heard the kids playing that afternoon. Then one message from a neighbor across the street. Their car is still in the parking space. It's been there since the 30th. My wife and I looked at each other. That's not right, she whispered. By evening, the relatives had come again, with a spare key this time. We didn't mean to pry, but it's impossible not to watch when something like that happens 2 houses away. We stood at our window, pretending to adjust the curtains. The uncle unlocked the door. He knocked, called out. No answer. He hesitated, then opened it and stepped inside. A moment later, a sound came from the house that I will never forget, a ragged, animal-like cry. It was one word, repeated over and over. Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! He stumbled back out, fell to his knees on the concrete, and fumbled for his phone with shaking hands. My wife whispered, "Call the police," at the exact moment he did the same. They arrived fast. Patrol car, then another, then an unmarked sedan. Neighbors gathered at a distance, pretending to be out for a walk. We watched officers put up yellow tape around the gate. Some went inside. Others kept us politely but firmly back. Through the window, I could see the living room. The light was still on. On the low table, there were bowls and chopsticks laid out neatly, as if a meal had been interrupted. The TV was frozen on a channel selection menu. A kotatsu blanket had been pushed aside, one corner stained a dark color that made my stomach twist. Later, on the news, they would show a blurred exterior shot of the house and say, "A family of 4 was found dead in their home on January 3rd. It is believed they were killed several days earlier." They would say words like multiple stab wounds, no signs of forced entry, and investigating as a murder. What they didn't say on TV was what we heard that night. The paramedic who came out first, pale under his mask, muttering to an officer, "The bodies are cold. Very cold. This didn't happen today." The officer replying, "But the heater is on. And the living room is warm." As if the house had been trying to keep them comfortable long after it mattered. Investigators worked through the night. We watched the theater of lights, flashlights, camera flashes, the harsh white lamps they set up outside. At some point, they brought out computers from the house. A laptop. A desktop tower. The router. They carried them carefully, like delicate eggs filled with secrets. Rumors spread faster than any official report. Someone said the father had fought back. Someone else said the killer had likely entered through the back door, which was always left unlocked. One neighbor whispered that the little boy had been found in the hallway, still clutching a toy car. No one could confirm any of it. What the police did confirm later, quietly, was stranger than all the rumors. They confirmed that someone had used the family's computer after the estimated time of death. Browsed websites. Clicked through pages. Even printed something. They would not say what. Time is strange around a crime. For the people inside the house, everything ended sometime on December 30th. For the rest of us, life continued. We went to work. Children went to school. The calendar flipped to a new year. But the house, for a while, stayed in between. Forensic teams came and went. Every day, there seemed to be new groups of men in suits and masks entering with tools and leaving with bags. They dusted for fingerprints. They measured shoe prints. They collected hair, fibers, anything that might lead to a face. We heard that there were plenty of fingerprints, on the walls, on the door, on the computer. One set didn't match anyone in the family. It belonged to the killer. We heard that the footprints were strange, inside the house but not outside, as if the person had appeared out of thin air and vanished the same way. We heard that the DNA profile was complete, clear, and stored carefully. Waiting for a match that never came. Months later, the case was described on a TV show as one of the most baffling unsolved family murders in recent Japanese history. They reenacted the crime with actors. They showed diagrams of the house. They talked about possible motives. Robbery? No, nothing significant was taken. Revenge? No known enemies. Random attack? Then why stay in the house afterward, eating their food, using their computer? That detail disturbed people more than the violence itself. The idea of the killers sitting at the family's desk, in their warm living room, surrounded by their things, calmly browsing the internet while 4 bodies cooled nearby. It's impolite in Japan even to sit in someone's spot on the sofa without asking. That person had done far worse. The house was eventually cleaned. Valuables removed, furniture thrown away, floors replaced. The yellow tape disappeared. The official police presence dwindled and then stopped. But something stayed. For a long time, no one wanted to buy or rent it. We heard whispers about the real estate listing. At first it was offered as is, with a small note about an incident. No one came. Then the description became more vague. Structure has been fully renovated. Some history, please ask for details. Still no one came. Finally, after years, a young couple from another prefecture moved in. They said they knew about the case. They said it didn't bother them. We're not superstitious, the husband said with a nervous laugh. And the price is good. They put up new curtains. Painted the fence. Planted flowers. The house looked less like a crime scene and more like a home again. But for those of us who had been there, who had watched the blue lights and the white suits and the endless parade of boxes, the house never quite returned to normal. We started crossing the street to avoid walking directly in front of it at night. We started pulling our curtains a little tighter. Even now, years later, I still sometimes wake up at 3 a.m., heart pounding, because I'm sure I saw light from that house's window when I went to get water. Police occasionally come back. Not often. Just enough to remind us that the case is still open. We're reviewing old evidence, they say. We're checking for new matches in the database. Their faces say something else. We are waiting for the killer to make a mistake. The thing is, I don't think that person will. Whoever did it already did something most criminals never do. They stayed. They took their time. They moved around the house as if they lived there. Used the computer. Cooked food. Left traces that told the police, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of being in this space. That kind of person doesn't usually slip up. They either disappear completely or they come back. That's what keeps me awake at night. Not the idea that the killer is far away. The idea that they might still be near. Sometimes I walk past the corner and see the new residents through the gate. The couple has a child now, a little girl with bright shoes and a loud laugh. She's about the age the Miyashita girl would be, if she had lived. I don't know whether to feel comforted or horrified by that. Their living room layout is different now, of course. The TV is in another place. The computer desk moved. But on winter nights, when the air is clear and cold and the moon makes shadows sharp, the house looks almost exactly as it did that December. Light glowing from the living room. Curtains half open. A single upstairs window shining bluish white. If I stand across the street and narrow my eyes, I can almost overlay the old image with the new one. 2 families at once. One living. One frozen forever on the night before New Year's Eve. Sometimes I imagine another presence in there. Someone sitting quietly in a dark corner, watching the new family live their lives. Checking the time on a watch that stopped years ago at 11:45 p.m., December 30th. Maybe that person remembers every detail of that night, the smell of Odin simmering on the stove, the sound of TV laughter, the feel of warm kotatsu on their legs. Maybe they wonder what would have happened if they had simply walked away before crossing the threshold. Before picking up the knife. Before touching the computer. Before turning an ordinary house into a place where the calendar stopped. We think of unsolved cases as stories about unknown people in faraway places. But this one happened 2 doors down from me. The killer has never been caught. The family never saw the new year. And the house No matter how many times you paint it, still remembers. You can tell from the way the lights sometimes flicker exactly at 11:45 p.m. on December 30th. The new couple says it's just old wiring. The electric company says everything is fine. The police say the case is still under investigation. But I know what those flickers are. They're the house, trying once more to move past that night. And failing. Over and over. Every year. Until someone finally steps into the warm living room at just the wrong time. And makes the story start again.